June 1, 1993. Park Lane, London. A Pakistani businessman walks into Avenfield house carrying a briefcase. He's looking at flat 17. 7 rooms. Panoramic views of Hyde Park. Price: over £2 million. We'll take it. The paperwork lists the buyer as Nesco Limited, a company registered in the British Virgin Islands. No visible owners. What the estate agent doesn't know, this buyer is about to become Prime Minister of Pakistan, a country where the average annual income is less than the cost of this flat's marble bathroom. What the Pakistani public doesn't know, their new leader, who's promising economic reforms and transparency, has just hidden millions of pounds in offshore companies and London real estate. Meet Nawaz Sharif, 3-time Prime Minister, and the man who will build an empire over 23 years, only to see it crumble because the document was written using a font that wasn't legally available then. But first, he has to rise. Rewind to 1939. Lahore, British India. Muhammad Sharif opens a small foundry. Steel casting, industrial parts. Nothing glamorous, just survival. By the 1972, his son Nawaz has turned that foundry into Ittifaq Group, one of Pakistan's largest steel manufacturers. Factories, foundries, industrial influence. Then the government nationalizes everything, takes the factories, takes the business. The Sharifs are left with nothing. But in 1977, General Zia-ul-Haq stages a military coup. He reverses nationalization, returns businesses to their owners. The Sharifs get Ittifaq Group back. And Zia notices Nawaz. Young, ambitious, connected to Punjab's industrial elite, perfect for politics. In 1981, Zia makes Nawaz Finance Minister of Punjab Province. By 1985, he's Chief Minister of Punjab. By 1990, he's Prime Minister of Pakistan. The rise is meteoric. Steel magnate to national leader in less than a decade. But here's what makes Nawaz different from other politicians. He understands business. He knows how money moves. How to create corporate structures that look legitimate but serve private interests. His first term as PM runs from 1990 to 1993. He launches massive privatization. State-owned enterprises sold to private buyers. Banks, telecommunications, industries. The official narrative: transform Pakistan into South Korea through private capital. The unofficial reality: create opportunities for people like himself to acquire state assets at favorable prices. By 1993, Nawaz Sharif has money, lots of it, from Ittifaq Group, from political connections, from deals made in the shadows of privatization. And on June 1, 1993, that money arrives in London. Nesco Limited purchases Flat 17, Avenfield House, 16 to 18, Park Lane, Mayfair. The documents are clean. The transaction is legal. The company registration in British Virgin Islands is perfectly standard for international property purchases. Nobody asks where Nesco got £2 million. Nobody verifies who owns Nesco. British property law doesn't require it. You have money in a British bank? You can buy property. Simple as that. Nawaz loses the 1993 election. Steps down as PM. But he's already planning his return. And while he's planning, he's buying. Because in 1995, he'll purchase 2 more flats on the same day. And nobody will notice until a leak 21 years later exposes everything. July 31, 1995. The same estate agent. The same building. Different flats. Nielsen Enterprises Limited, another BVI company, purchases Flat 16 and Flat 16A. Avenfield House. Both on the same day. Combined value: approximately £3 million. The flats are next to each other. The plan is obvious. Combine them. Create a larger space. A family compound in central London. By now, the Sharif family has 3 of the 4 luxury flats in Avenfield House. Just one more to complete the collection. On July 23, 1996, Nesco Limited purchases Flat 17A. 4 flats. Total value, approximately £7 million. All owned by offshore companies registered in British Virgin Islands. All purchased between 1993 and 1996. The timing is remarkable. Between losing power in 1993 and regaining it in 1997, the Sharif family acquires a property empire in London's most expensive neighborhood. The official explanation when anyone bothers to ask is simple. Successful business family investing abroad. Legitimate commerce. International diversification. But here's what the documents show. The beneficial owners of Nesco and Nielsen aren't listed as Nawaz Sharif. They're listed as his children. Maryam, Hassan, Hussein. Maryam is in her early 20s when Flat 17 is purchased. Hassan and Hussein are younger. None of them have visible sources of income that would justify owning millions of pounds in London real estate, but that's the beauty of offshore structures. Beneficial ownership is private. British authorities don't require companies from British Virgin Islands to disclose who actually controls them. So the Sharif children become paper owners of an empire their father built. By 1997, Nawaz is back as Prime Minister. Second term? More power. More influence. More opportunities. The Avenfield flats get renovated. Combined into a single residence. 7 bedrooms. 8 bathrooms. 2 kitchens. 5 reception rooms. Terrace overlooking Hyde Park. Private elevator. Parking. Interior design, white marble floors. Crystal chandeliers. Floor-to-ceiling windows. The kind of luxury that costs hundreds of thousands of pounds to maintain annually. The family uses it as their London base. Maryam stays there during shopping trips. Hassan and Hussein, when they're managing overseas business interests. Nawaz visits when he's in Britain for diplomatic meetings. Treats it like a second home. Because it is a second home. Just one that officially doesn't belong to him. His second term as PM ends in 1999, when General Musharraf stages another military coup. Nawaz is arrested. Convicted of hijacking and terrorism charges. Sentenced to life in prison. But Saudi Arabia intervenes. Negotiates his release. Nawaz goes into exile. Spends years in London and Jeddah. During that exile, the Avenfield flats serve their purpose. A refuge. A symbol of wealth preserved despite political turbulence. By 2007, he's allowed to return to Pakistan. By 2013, he's Prime Minister again. Third term. This time, his platform includes anti-corruption messaging. Transparency. Accountability. Building a new Pakistan. The irony is exquisite. A man with £7 million in undeclared offshore-owned London real estate promising to fight corruption. For 3 years, it works. He governs. The economy grows. His party controls parliament. Then, on April 3, 2016, everything changes. A German newspaper publishes 11.5 million documents from a Panamanian law firm. And buried in those documents are the offshore secrets of dozens of world leaders, including Pakistan's Prime Minister. April 3, 2016. Islamabad, Pakistan. Nawaz Sharif wakes up to headlines that will destroy him. Panama Papers expose Sharif family's offshore empire. The International Consortium of Investigative Journalists has published documents from Mossack Fonseca. 11.5 million documents. 2.6 terabytes of data. Among them, Nesco Limited. Nielsen Enterprises Limited. Both connected to Nawaz Sharif's children. Both owning the Avenfield flats on Park Lane. The documents show everything the Sharif family spent 20 years keeping private. Nawaz's first response is denial. These are business investments by my children. Everything is legal and declared. But Pakistani opposition leader Imran Khan smells blood. He's been accusing Sharif of corruption for years. Now, he has proof. Khan launches a campaign. Street protests. Televised speeches. Our Prime Minister hid millions in offshore accounts while Pakistanis struggle with poverty. The protests grow. Thousands. Then, hundreds of thousands. Pakistan's Supreme Court announces an investigation on April 20, 2016. Nawaz's legal team produces documents. trust deeds, corporate records. Everything showing the flats belonged to his children, not him. The key document, a trust deed dated February 2006, showing Maryam Nawaz as trustee of the properties. Her father has no legal connection to Avenfield. The Supreme Court isn't convinced. They form a joint investigation team. Full authority to investigate offshore dealings. The JIT requests documents from British authorities, from BVI corporate registries, from international banks. They discover the money trail, Pakistan to the Middle East to offshore accounts to London property purchases. They discover additional properties, not just Avenfield. A web of offshore holdings spanning decades. And then, in June 2017, they discover something remarkable. A British forensic document examiner named Robert Radley is reviewing the trust deed from February 2006. He notices the font. The document is typed in Calibri. And Calibri wasn't commercially available until January 2007. Robert Radley's report is devastating. The trust deed purportedly created in February 2006 is typed in Calibri font. Calibri was not commercially available until January 2007, when it was released with Microsoft Office 2007. Prior to that date, Calibri existed only in beta testing with a small number of Microsoft developers. The most likely explanation is that this document was created after January 2007 and backdated to February 2006. In other words, forgery. The Sharif legal team scrambles. They argue Calibri might have been available earlier. That beta versions were accessible, but the JIT has 10 volumes of evidence. Offshore companies, unexplained wealth, money trails that don't match declared income, and now a forged document. On July 10, 2017, the JIT submits their report to the Supreme Court. The conclusions are damning. Nawaz Sharif failed to explain the source of funds for the London properties. His declared income is insufficient to justify £7 million in real estate. The trust deed dated 2006 appears to be forged. The offshore companies were used to hide beneficial ownership. On July 28, 2017, Pakistan's Supreme Court disqualifies Nawaz Sharif from holding public office. Not a criminal conviction, just disqualification. Under Article 621F of the Constitution, which requires elected officials to be honest and truthful. He's no longer Prime Minister, no longer a Member of Parliament, no longer eligible to hold any public office. His daughter Maryam is also disqualified. But disqualification isn't enough. The National Accountability Bureau files criminal charges. The Avenfield reference, how the London flats were purchased, whether they represent proceeds of corruption. The trial begins in September 2017. Nawaz and Maryam are ordered to appear in court. They don't. They're in London. Officially for medical treatment. Nawaz's wife, Kulsum, has cancer. But the real reason they stay in London is obvious. Pakistan can't extradite them. No treaty exists. The trial continues without them. The prosecution presents the JIT findings, the offshore structures, the unexplained wealth, the Calibri font. The defense argues everything is circumstantial. No direct proof of corruption. But in Pakistan's accountability courts, that's enough. If you have assets you can't explain, you're guilty of corruption. On July 6, 2018, the verdict arrives. Nawaz Sharif, 10 years imprisonment, £8 million fine, disqualified for life from holding public office. Maryam Nawaz, 7 years imprisonment, £2 million fine. All 4 Avenfield flats, confiscated by the state of Pakistan. July 6, 2018. Islamabad Accountability Court. Judge Muhammad Bashir reads the verdict in a packed courtroom. Nawaz Sharif is not present. Neither is Maryam. They're still in London. The core finding, Nawaz Sharif owned assets beyond his known sources of income. The Avenfield properties were purchased with funds he cannot legitimately explain. The sentence, 10 years imprisonment, fine of £8 million, confiscation of the 4 Avenfield flats. Maryam, 7 years imprisonment, £2 million fine, forgery of the trust deed, Concealment of assets. The courtroom erupts. Sharif supporters shout. Opposition supporters celebrate. But thousands of miles away in London, Nawaz Sharif is sitting in Avenfield House, the same flat purchased in 1993. He issues a statement. This is a politically motivated judgment. We will appeal. His party claims the military establishment orchestrated this conviction. They're not entirely wrong. Pakistan's military has a history of manipulating politics. But the evidence is real. The offshore companies exist. The calibri font forgery is documented. On July 13, 2018, 1 week after the verdict, Nawaz and Maryam fly back to Pakistan. It's a calculated risk. They could stay in London indefinitely, safe from arrest. But that would end their political careers. By returning, they become martyrs. The flight from London to Lahore is treated like a campaign event. Thousands gather at Lahore airport. Party flags. Chants. When the plane lands, police are waiting. Nawaz and Maryam are arrested on the tarmac. Taken directly to Adiala jail in Rawalpindi. Nawaz's cell is small. Concrete walls. Basic furniture. A far cry from the marble floors and Hyde Park views of Avenfield House. His lawyers immediately file appeals. High Court. Supreme Court. Constitutional petitions. On September 19, 2018, the Islamabad High Court grants a partial reprieve. Nawaz's sentence is suspended for 6 weeks on medical grounds. His party loses the July 2018 general elections. Imran Khan's PTI forms the government. For the next year, Nawaz shuttles between court appearances and hospitals. His lawyers delay. File motions. Then in October 2019, the Lahore High Court allows Nawaz to leave Pakistan for medical treatment. Cardiac condition. Requires treatment in London. On November 19, 2019, Nawaz Sharif boards a flight to London. He never comes back. In November 2019, when Nawaz Sharif arrives in London for medical treatment, he moves right back into Avenfield House, the same flat that got him convicted. British newspapers notice. The Daily Mail runs photos. Convicted, corrupt PM, living in luxury, while avoiding prison. But photos aren't legal proceedings. And then, in 2022, something remarkable happens. The courts that convicted Nawaz Sharif begin reversing their decisions. Between 2019 and 2023, Pakistan's political landscape shifts. Imran Khan's government, elected on an anti-corruption platform, begins losing support. Economic crisis, inflation, political infighting. By 2022, Khan is facing a no-confidence vote, and PMLN is positioning for a comeback. In this context, the courts begin reconsidering Sharif's convictions. First, the Islamabad High Court suspends his sentences in 2 cases. Then in November 2023, an appellate court overturns the Avenfield conviction entirely. Every piece of evidence that seemed damning in 2018 is reinterpreted in 2023. On October 25, 2023, Nawaz Sharif returns to Pakistan. Not in handcuffs. In triumph. His plane lands in Lahore, to massive crowds, thousands celebrating his return. In February 2024, Pakistan holds general elections. PMLN forms a coalition government. Nawaz's younger brother Shehbaz becomes prime minister. Nawaz returns to the National Assembly, not as prime minister, but as a senior party leader, kingmaker, elder statesman, and the Avenfield flats, still owned by Neskal and Nielsen.